Okay, have you ever stood in a grocery store aisle just completely overwhelmed by all the conflicting health advice? Because if you have, you are definitely not alone. It feels like every single day there's a new villain on the nutritional most wanted list.
So one day, you hear that red meat is the problem, right? This is the classic advice we've all heard, especially from cardiologists. It's high in cholesterol, high in saturated fat, it's gonna clog your arteries. Pretty straightforward.
But then you hop online, and suddenly the real enemy is seed oils. People are calling them the hateful eight, blaming them for all sorts of inflammation in the body. So wait a minute, which one is it? Is it the steak, or is it the oil we're cooking the steak in?
And just when you think it can't get any more confusing, here comes sugar. We're told it's in everything, it's the reason for weight gain, and it leads to all these chronic diseases. So now we have three completely different culprits. It's a total mess, isn't it? Red meat, seed oils, sugar. What should we actually be worried about? Well, let's try to cut through all that noise and find a much clearer, simpler way to think about the food we eat.
All right, let's start by rounding up the usual suspects. This is the kind of advice you've probably heard a million times, and it all focuses on specific ingredients that medical experts tell us to watch out for. So, a typical avoid list from a cardiologist is going to have stuff like red meat, bacon, French fries, soda, and potato chips. Now, if you look at this list, is there a common thread here? A lot of the time, that common thread is added sugar. So, what even are added sugars? Well, the CDC has a really clear definition. It's any sugar that gets put into packaged foods while they're being made. We're not talking about the natural sugar you find in, say, a piece of fruit. This is the stuff that's added to make things taste better, have a certain texture, or last forever on the shelf. And this is where it gets really tricky. I mean, look at this. Sugar is a master of disguise. It hides under dozens of different names. High fructose corn syrup, dextrose, maltose, rice syrup, the list goes on and on. If you don't know these code words, it's pretty much impossible to spot, even in foods you wouldn't think are sweet at all. So you can see how focusing on just one ingredient can get super complicated. But what if we've been looking at this whole problem from the wrong angle? This is where things get really interesting. Maybe, just maybe, it's not about the individual ingredient. Maybe it's about the process. So, back in 2009, a team of researchers in Brazil noticed something. The huge rise in obesity didn't just line up with people eating more fat or sugar. It lined up with the rise of a whole new type of food. And this led them to create a brand new framework called the NOVA classification. Now, what's so brilliant about NOVA is that it doesn't really care about nutrients like carbs or fat. It focuses on how much a food has been processed. Group 1 is your whole foods, an apple, a piece of chicken. Group 2 is stuff you cook with, oil, salt, butter. Group 3 is simple processed foods, like a can of tuna or a simple loaf of bread. And then you get to Group 4, ultra-processed foods. Okay, pay attention, because this is the absolute key distinction. Processed food is basically a whole food with salt, sugar, or oil added. Think of cheese or canned beans. But an ultra-processed food, a UPF, that's something else entirely. It's an industrial formula. It's made from things extracted from foods, like protein isolates and modified starches. And then it's loaded up with a cocktail of additives to make it taste, well, irresistible. And here's why this matters so much. In the United States, a truly staggering 58% of the average person's daily calories come from these Group 4 ultra-processed foods. Let that sink in for a minute. More than half. So, how does looking at food through this new lens help us with our original confusion? Well, let's take that really heated debate over seed oils and see what happens when we apply this framework. So, what does the actual science have to say about this? Well, it turns out that major scientific studies show that the main omega-6 in seed oils is actually linked to a lower risk of heart disease. As nutrition scientist Dr. Sarah Berry explains, as long as you're getting enough omega-3s, omega-6 can actually be protective. So, where did this whole hateful eight idea even come from? This is where the NOVA framework is like a superpower. Seed oils are a really cheap and shelf-stable ingredient. So what kind of products do you think they get used in? You guessed it, a massive number of ultra-processed foods. And here it is, the big reveal. The charts you see online that show disease rates rising right alongside seed oil use, they're not telling you the whole story. The real connection is with the explosion of ultra-processed foods.
which just happen to use seed oils as a convenient ingredient. It's like we've been blaming the passenger for the car crash instead of the car itself. Okay, so this all makes sense. If the real goal is to cut back on ultra-processed foods, how in the world do you spot them in the grocery store? Well, it's actually way easier than you might think. Here are 3 dead giveaways. First clue, a super long ingredient list. If it looks like a paragraph, be suspicious. Second, ingredients you don't recognize and would never ever use in your own kitchen. Things like emulsifiers or protein isolates. And the third clue, which is pretty ironic, is a big health claim on the package. If it's shouting about being low-fat or fortified with vitamins, it's often a marketing trick for a UPF. You know, the official dietary guidelines from Brazil, where the Nova system was born, have this beautiful, simple golden rule. It says, always prefer natural or minimally processed foods and freshly made dishes and meals to ultra-processed foods. It's just a powerful, simple way to think about how you shop and eat. So, we spend all this energy debating every little ingredient. Is it the sugar? Is it the fat? Is it the beef? Or is it the seed oils? But maybe, just maybe, the NOVA framework shows us we're asking the wrong question altogether. Maybe the most important question we can ask about our food isn't just what's in it, but how is it made?